Yes, sir, I gave you the thumbs up.
Thank you. We'd like to welcome everybody here to our February the 8th, March the 8th, Floyd County Commission meeting. Thank you for being here. Commissioner Wallace is going to lead us in a prayer and pledge of allegiance.
If y'all will bow with me. Dear Lord, we come before you tonight, first and foremost, asking forgiveness for all our many sins. Dear Lord, tonight we pray for our president, we pray for our country, we pray for our county, we pray for our city, we pray for our law enforcement, all of our armed services people. Dear Lord, we just ask that you be with each of them. And dear Lord, just humble all of us. Allow us the opportunity to pray and help others. And Lord, we go tonight and ask that you be with us in every decision that we make, and hopefully those decisions will be uplifting to you and be what you would have us to do. To ask in the holy name. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Could I have a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
Make a motion to approve. Second.
A motion by Commissioner Maxey, second by Commissioner Wallace to approve the agenda. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Wallace?
Yes.
Commissioner Maxey?
Yes.
Commissioner Hancock?
Yes.
Chair Bagby?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. We have two folks signed up for public participation tonight, and I'll ask you to come to the podium and give us a name and address and the business item they'd like to talk about. They'll have 3 minutes. The first one is Michael Morgan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Michael Morgan. My address is a public record on Radio Springs Road. I came to address a couple of things. The first one is a secondary attempt to get a reasonable published date of the agenda schedule. Okay? There's a 2-week interval between regularly scheduled meetings. To me, reasonable would be a midpoint in that cycle. Releasing the agenda on Friday preceding the meeting and then amending it yesterday prior to the meeting, okay, I don't feel is reasonable notification to the public to be able to be aware and informed as to what the planned agenda items are so that they can be researched, studied, and people can come in and speak either in support of or in opposition to whatever motions or considerations that may be brought to the board. The second item is item number 4 on the new business item. The consideration for the Floyd County Attorney to approve a consent order between the State Elections Board and the state of Georgia and the Floyd County Board of Elections and Robert Brady. I didn't notice anything on the agenda about the restitution being paid by the county to the tune of about, I believe, $3,000. Is that correct, Ms. Harmon?
There's no restitution.
Okay, a fine. If it's called a fine, but there's restitution in the form of money being paid by the county. Okay. When the word stand by 1 second here. When the word consent comes to mind, reminds me of the consent decree that was signed by Governor Kemp in April of 2020 after the release of the lawsuit by the New Georgia Project and the Secretary of State. An agreement was made and it bypassed legislative processes and became doctrine to which the elections were managed under. So needless to say, that leads me with a lot of suspicion and concern in regards to our elections. That should be the most important thing in our county's governing concerns, would be the integrity of our elections, regardless who's on the ballot, okay, the process. The process failed, and I'm curious to know what the written corrective actions are to be put in place to ensure that those errors are not repeated. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Next is David Smith.
Good evening. I'm here tonight to address the same concerns here about the settlement agreement on the agenda between Floyd County and the State Election Board. I heard Ms. Harmon's explanation at the recent election board meeting, and I know I wasn't the only one there that left with more questions than answers. Someone fanned themselves with a paper ballot, which caused a crease, which made the machine jam, which led to the machine being replaced because they couldn't clear the jam. Then in the process of the machine changeover, a bunch of ballots that had already been scanned weren't accounted for. That was kind of the gist of it from what I understood. So there were some mistakes made and some process fouls, but nothing was done deliberately, from my understanding. You know, if that's the case, then why should Floyd County have to pay a $3,000 settlement to the State Election Board? The people of Floyd County were never given the option to use a different voting system. The Secretary of State made that decision for all 159 counties, and now we're being told we should pay a settlement to the State Election Board because the system that they forced us to use is so overly complicated and ridiculous that a wrinkled paper disabled the machine and makes mistakes by election workers almost inevitable. This also seems to assume the Secretary of State and State Election Board are operating in good faith, which the evidence and court records prove hasn't been the case. In the Curling v. Raffensperger case in the U.S. District Court in Northern Georgia, the judge there says the arguments used by the Secretary of State, and quote, the judge here, she said, contradicts the fulsome expert opinion and facts in this case, and also finds, quote, defendant's contention that the servers were simply repurposed and not intentionally destroyed or wiped as flatly not credible. You may be thinking, well, that's a different case having nothing to do with Floyd County, so it's not really relevant. But to me, what I think it shows is that the Secretary of State's office, State Election Board, whoever involved, has no problem lying, cheating, and stealing, doing whatever it takes, so long as they don't have to take the blame for putting this Dominion system in place, that many experts have proven beyond a shadow of a doubt is extremely vulnerable to manipulation from multiple sources, both in person and through the internet. At one of the recent meetings, I came up here and presented some documentation showing an IP address from Michigan logged in as the Floyd County election supervisor early in the morning on November 4th of 2020 and manipulated the election results in Floyd County, flipping 3,434 votes from one candidate to another. I gave this documentation to Ms. Wallace, and so that you don't have to take my word for it, you can check this information out for yourselves. And frankly, I was a little surprised that no one here seemed all that curious about it, about what I was talking about. It seems like a pretty big deal to me that we should want to find out what happened, certainly before agreeing to any settlement with the Secretary of State. I'm sure we could get someone from a nonpartisan group such as Voter GA to come and meet with you guys and make sure that we have the full story before there's any agreements made, if that's something that you would be interested in. We were also promised a peer review, and I'm wrapping it up, to restore confidence in the Floyd County election, and I'm curious about what the status of that is. We've all heard the saying that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. And it's time to stop playing this go-along to get-along game with people who have shown themselves to have no problem lying, cheating, and stealing to help keep from being held accountable for the poor decisions made in the past.
Thank you, David. We'll move on to our approval of the minutes from our last meeting on February the 22nd. Do I have a motion are there any additions or corrections to these minutes? Seeing and hearing none, those stand approved as submitted. We have no special recognitions tonight, no proclamations. We do have 3 items from the Planning Commission to be put on first reading tonight. There will be no discussion of them. That public hearing will be held at our next meeting where public speaking will be allowed. Art, if you could read those and put those on the record.
Yes, sir, and good evening, everyone. We have three first readings for your consideration this evening, Mr. Chairman. The first is file number Z220301, which is requesting rezoning from community commercial to suburban residential. This is located at 66 Old School Road, Floyd County, tax parcel J12X048. The planning staff recommends approval, and the planning commission had a unanimous recommendation of approval as well. The next one is file number Z220302, which is requesting rezoning from suburban residential to community commercial at 4590 Alabama Highway. This is Floyd County tax parcel F13Y148. This has a recommendation of approval from the staff and also has a unanimous recommendation of approval from the planning commission. And then the last item we have is file number Z220306, which is requesting rezoning from suburban residential to agricultural residential. This is located at 45 Battle Farm Road. This is Floyd County tax parcel J10Y110. This has a recommendation of approval from the planning staff. It also has a recommendation of approval by the planning commission by unanimous vote with some conditions. The first being the parcel being rezoned to agricultural residential must be limited to a small family farm. Commercial farming shall be prohibited. The farming activities, structures, and animals must be limited to the northernmost portion of the property with a 50-foot buffer as shown in the map provided to avoid disturbances to the adjacent neighborhood, and an area for animals to be fenced. Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, staff just respectfully request that y'all add that to the agenda for a public hearing in 2 weeks' time.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Art. We'll look forward to the public hearings at our next meeting.
Yes, sir. Thank y'all.
Thank you. We have no second readings or public hearings tonight, and no resolutions. Under the chairman's report, we have three of the committees that we're that their terms have come to the end of their road, and we're looking to reappoint. The first one, and I'll read all of these, and we can have a motion on all three, I believe. Number 5 is consider an appointment or reappointment to the Floyd County Library Board of Bob Kane, who has just completed his first term. Second item is number 7, to consider an appointment or reappointment to the Citizens Advisory Committee. Sandra Lindsay's second term expired December the 31st, 2021. Number 8 is consider an appointment or reappointment to the Citizens Advisory Committee for Jim Howell's third term expired December 31st, 2021. And we'd like to ask to reappoint those three, and I'd like to entertain a motion that we do that.
I make a motion to approve all three.
Motion by Commissioner Wallace, second by Commissioner Maxey to approve. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Wallace?
Yes.
Commissioner Maxey?
Yes.
Commissioner Hancock?
Yes.
Chair Bagby?
Yes.
Motion carries.
I think several people, or at least Commissioner Hancock, would like to make a few comments about their individual committee assignments or the boards that they serve on.
Thank you, Rod. We had a DFACS meeting today. I sit on that board, and I'd just like to report out. I was on that board about 3 years ago, and we had over 400 children in DFACS custody at that time. Today, I'm happy to report that it's a sad number, but it's been cut down a lot, 179 kids right now in DFACS custody. So in 3 years, approximately 3 years, that number has been cut in more than half, which is really, really a good thing. And I think we need to work harder in our community to support programs like foster parenting and things like that, to be able to support our children in this community so they're not having to be sent out of the community for foster parents. We had at one point we had almost 50 families that were foster parents, and now we only have about 21, which is out of everybody in Floyd County, there's only like 21 homes that are open right now for foster parenting. So I would just like to, if God puts that on your heart to do, that's really a great program to be involved in, and it's a real need in our community. But thank you, Wright, for giving me the opportunity to say
Thank you, Scott. I
that.
appreciate you serving on that board. Appreciate DFACS people don't get the praise that they deserve sometimes on the work they do. So thank you for doing that. Mr. Manager, have you got anything to add at this point?
No, sir, no report.
Okay. Ms. Harmon, anything from you?
No report, Mr. Chairman. I'll address the consent order when it appears on the agenda.
Right. Okay, thank you very much. Ms. Elrod, is the consent agenda in order?
Yes, it is, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Make a motion to approve.
Second?
Motion by Commissioner Maxey, second by Commissioner Wallace to approve the consent agenda. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Wallace?
Yes.
Commissioner Maxey?
Yes.
Commissioner Hancock?
Yes.
Chair Bagby?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. We have no old business. We have several items of new business, and I'm going to ask Mr. McCord if he would present those.
Yes, sir. Item 1, consider a recommendation from purchasing to approve the purchase of two 2022 F-150 Super Crew Cab XL pickup 4x4 or equal from Prater Ford in the amount of $37,015 each for the Public Works Department. These were budgeted in 2017 SPLOST. The bids were over budget by $6,030 for both vehicles cumulatively. Savings from the jet trailer or pump truck that was approved at the previous meeting will be transferred to make up the budget difference.
Thank you. Do we have a motion on item 1?
Make a motion to approve?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Wallace, second by Commissioner Maxey to approve item 1. Any further discussion? Please call the roll.
Commissioner Wallace?
Yes.
Commissioner Maxey?
Yes.
Commissioner Hancock?
Yes.
Chair Bagby?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item 2, consider a recommendation from purchasing to approve purchase of one F-150 extended cab truck 4x4 or equal from Prater Ford in the amount of $31,195 for the Public Works Department. This was budgeted in 2017 SPLOST at $32,000. The remaining $810 will go toward any upfitting charges the department may incur.
Thank you. Do I have a motion on item 2?
Make a motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Maxey,
Second?
second by Commissioner Wallace to approve item 2. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Wallace?
Yes.
Commissioner Maxey?
Yes.
Commissioner Hancock?
Yes.
Chair Bagby?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item 3, consider recommendation from purchasing to approve the purchase of one F-750 XL with grapple, knuckle boom, and bed or equal from Environmental Products Group in the amount of $164,885 for the Public Works Department. This was budgeted in 2017 SPLOST at $175,000 and came in under by $10,115.
Thank you. Hope you can keep doing that. Is there a motion on item 3?
Make a motion to approve.
Second. And Jamie, will you also give us an estimated delivery date of that? I apologize, we probably should have done that on the others as well.
It's actually November of 2022. That would be on the knuckle boom for the brush truck. The previous items are $22 to 26 weeks on the extended cab truck and 54 to 86 days on the two double cabs.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a motion on item 3? Excuse me, on item 4, moving on.
We need to call the.
We need to vote on
call
3.
the-
Okay. Commissioner
Call the roll.
Wallace?
Yes.
Commissioner Maxey?
Yes.
Commissioner Hancock?
Yes.
Chair Bagby?
Yes.
Motion carries.
I think Ms. Harmer is going to handle item 4.
Yes.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. For your consideration this evening, I brought before the Commission a consent order, which I have been involved in negotiations with the Attorney General's office concerning SEB Action 2020-00194, which is the case that resulted when the Floyd County Elections Board self-reported a undercount of the initial vote tally for the 2020 general election. That undercount was discovered during the course of the self-proving audit conducted statewide. The agenda item mentions Mr. Brady. The consent order that I brought to the Commission has nothing to do with Mr. Brady. He is an additional party to the same case, but his charges before the State Elections Board are being dealt with completely separately. This consent order has nothing to do with those charges. I am not privy to the status of those charges. He's represented by his own counsel, and I don't know the status of those charges. This consent order deals only with a single finding of fault on behalf of the Attorney General's office as a result of its investigation into that initial undercount. That finding of fault is that the Elections Board was found to have failed to request from Mr. Brady a reconciliation of each of the scanner machines used in early voting and during the general election, which, if it had been conducted by Mr. Brady and requested by the board, might have, and again, this is just looking back, but with 2020 vision at 2020, but it might have enabled the board to learn at an earlier point of the undercount and been able to take a corrective action. Nothing in the consent order nor the investigative findings indicates any intentional wrongdoing or misconduct on behalf of any member of the Board of Elections. It all focuses on this process of reconciliation and requesting that review by the Board of Elections. Again, and I think I reported back early on in 2021 as to my investigation, the investigation conducted by the Secretary of State's investigator at the time, the State Elections Board investigation, and now the Attorney General's investigation, all are consistent in finding that the Board of Elections engaged in no wrongdoing. The question of how the undercount actually came to be is one that leaves some issues unaddressed. The first issue being when we had a voter who crumpled her ballot and jammed a scanner in this room in the admin during early voting for some reason, which has not been explained to me, and I don't think anyone has been able to discern. The two memory cards located inside that machine at that time, as of that jammed ballot, would no longer communicate with each other. So the ballots from the first ballot cast in early voting through the time of the jammed ballot could not be extracted from those two memory cards as would be the normal course of events. When Mr. Brady found out that those memory cards would no longer communicate and that the machine at that point was replaced with another scanner we had ready and available for that purpose, so from jammed ballot voter forward, all votes were included in the tally. Then we had to deal with the ballots number 1 through the ballot just before the jam. At the direction of the Secretary of State's office, those ballots were all rescanned in the server room on a high-speed scanner. The second issue, for which I do not have an explanation and the investigation has not found one, is for some reason about half of the ballots from that morning were included in the final tally of votes and about half were not. Files simply didn't migrate into the final tally. Again, there's been no finding of any intentional wrongdoing. In fact, if you take those votes as a whole and apply the same percentages that you would expect if you simply randomly pulled out a handful of ballots from that machine, about the same number of votes went for Republican candidates, about the same number of votes went for Democratic candidates. In other words, there's no indication that there was a pattern of pulling out any particular votes for those that were migrated and those were not. But ultimately, the number of charges related to conduct on behalf of Mr. Brady related to a number of processes that might have corrected that situation and were not followed at the time. This consent order that I bring to you tonight, again, reflects, and I would say, from the time that this process began to date, the potential fine, and this is not restitution, it's a fine, has been greatly reduced by the Attorney General's office, and I think that's reflective of their ultimate determination that there was an error in process during the course of the board's consideration of the evidence before it at the time that it initially certified the election results, but that there was no intentional wrongdoing at the time, and the fine is de minimis and reflects that. So this consent order comes to you having already been approved by our new Board of Elections and Registrations. After your approval, if you choose to do that this evening, it will appear on the State Election Board's consent agenda at its next hearing date. So it does come to you with my recommendation. And I'll be glad to answer any questions from the commission if you have any issues or would like some additional information.
Thank you, Ms. Harmon. Is there a motion on item 4?
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda or agenda item.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Wallace, second by Commissioner Hancock to approve item 4. Any further discussion? Please call the roll.
Commissioner Wallace?
Yes.
Commissioner Maxey?
Yes.
Commissioner Hancock?
Yes.
Chair Bagby?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item 5, consider recommendation from purchasing to proceed with Parker Center renovation by Multi-Craft Construction Services LLC in the amount of $71,690. This was budgeted in the 2017 SPLOST at $75,000 and came in under budget by $3,310.
Thank you very much. Is there a motion on item 5?
Make a motion to approve. Second.
Motion by Commissioner Maxey, second by Commissioner Hancock to approve item 5. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Wallace?
Yes.
Commissioner Maxey?
Yes.
Commissioner Hancock?
Yes.
Chair Bagby?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item 6, consider a recommendation from Floyd Parks and Recreation Authority to name the renovated skate park in honor of Bob Moore. The new name would be Bob Moore Kickflip Skate Park. The construction has been underway for about a month now and is planning to be completed by the end of the week.
Thank you. Long-awaited completion. That's great. Do we have a motion on this?
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Wallace, second by Commissioner Hancock to approve the naming of the skate park. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Wallace?
Yes.
Commissioner Maxey?
Yes.
Commissioner Hancock?
Yes.
Chair Bagby?
Yes.
Motion carries.
In item 7, consider recommendation from facilities to revise the elections capital budget by $28,170, elections, all other by $400, and election supplies by $350 to continue the move to the health department building. And the planned move date is to begin next Monday.
Thank you. Do we have a motion on item 7?
Make a motion to approve. Second.
Motion by Commissioner Maxey, second by Commissioner Hancock to approve item 7. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Wallace?
Yes.
Commissioner Maxey?
Yes.
Commissioner Hancock?
Yes.
Chair Bagby?
Yes.
Motion carries.
We have no other business tonight. We did go into executive session during caucus to discuss property matter. No action was taken. Is anything else to come before the group?
I would like to say that on the naming of the skate park, they are going to have a ribbon cutting and grand opening Monday. Right now, it's planned to be somewhere between 4 and 4:30, so the public is invited. More information to come, but if you want to put that on your calendars, that'd be great.
Thank you very much. Bob Moore was very important to the youth and also adults in this community, so I think it's a very fitting thing that it be named after him. So thank you for those comments. If there's no other business, we stand adjourned.